toughest part of being mixed race is that you know how other people see you due to your appearance, because you grew up in a culture and you share these kind of associations with your fellow countrymen. The only difference is that you look like somebody of whom your society has specific kind of stereotypes and generalizations. This is very tough. This creates a kind of a struggle with self-stereotyping. You stand in front of the mirror and you get associations with the guy you see that are indoctrinated inside your mind by your culture. Okay, your politicians, the way they speak about people who look like you, popular culture, movies, series, the way people who look like you are portrayed, and so forth. So that asks from you an extra kind of mental strength and resilience to get through that in life. Okay, to become successful, to overcome all these hurdles, these day-to-day hassles and microaggressions of you being put and positioned in a box that doesn't fit you. Okay, we're living in 2020. You would expect that by now any kind of biological features, any kind of appearance can come from pretty much any country. Okay, you can be black, brown, yellow, whatever, and come from the Netherlands. Yet still we have this ancient idea, if you look a certain way, you come from that country. If you look another way, you come from this country. My country, the majority of people have blonde hair and blue eyes. So when they see somebody like me, I'm always portrayed as somebody from the Mediterranean. Whether it's Portugal, Turkey, Italy, Greece, Egypt, doesn't matter. People will always position you from another place. Even though we're now living in a day and age where that just doesn't make sense anymore. So this can go into two directions. In my case, when I was struggling with my identity, especially during my teenage years, I had this period where I started to suppress that identity, deny that identity. So I became particularly proud of my Dutch identity, and in particular became very anti-immigrant. Okay, that was during my teenage years. I was hanging out with these conservative, very right-wing people, and I have always seen that now I'm an adult, always seen as a kind of a phase and a period I had to go through to find who I am. I always say that fierce denying of who I was, that part of my identity, that one part of my identity that comes from my father, I have always felt that I did that because it was a kind of a way or almost an unconscious idea that I had, that the harder I deny that part of myself, the more convincing it is that I belong to the other group, that I'm Dutch. Okay, the more proud I am, the more I deny that part of my identity. You know, being anti-immigrant, being anti-this, being very pro-European, pro-Dutch. That will be then. There is a kind of you're trying to fool yourself. You're trying to kind of convince yourself being even more Dutch than you are. You know what I mean? And I always feel that that's the same with, for example, people who are gay, who feel that they are gay, but they grew up in a very conservative Christian environment, for example. And what do you often see is that these people actually become the most fierce anti-gay advocates of everyone in their immediate environment. And I feel that is a way to cope, even though I think it's an unhealthy way to cope, and deny that part of your identity by shouting so loud against it that you convince yourself and your environment that it's not part of you, even though you know deep inside you cannot fool yourself. For me, it took some years, and in particular during my student years, when I became an academic. So I started studying psychology in my country, and I slowly started to see the positive sides of my multiracial identity, and also meeting a lot of people similar to me, but also a lot of positive encounters with immigrants made me actually embrace that part of my identity and literally love it. Okay, literally starting to see the beautiful side of this situation that I'm in. And I think that's a very important process that a lot of people have to go through who are struggling with their social identity, is that they have positive encounters with people who share a similar kind of identity. In my case, that had a very positive effect, and it actually made me become very activist. Okay, so I did my bachelor, my master, my PhD, my postdoc, and now I became a scientist who actually spends his career on issues of social identity, struggles of marginalized communities, and I turned my situation into a part of my life, a crucial part of my life, and I became very activistic to promote a positive social identity among those who share a similar burden, such as myself. But also to open up the eyes of the world to the struggles of people that are often forgotten in a very binary world: black, white, Muslim, Christian, Chinese, just all very all-encompassing big umbrella identities, very binary world, very contrasting world of opposing identities, which is just nonsense, because it completely takes away the individuality of every single individual. You know, what about a let's say a half Han, half Uyghur Chinese who is Christian and gay? I mean, people are so complex that this whole simplistic system of opposing all-encompassing identities is just denying people of their beautiful complexity. So my advice for those people who are struggling with this, with same kind of identity issues, and feel a kind of, feel that it's very hard, and even denying themselves embracing this identity, hating this identity, I would say, whether it's because you're gay, or you're half black, or you're half Muslim, or whatever, or even a quarter this, quarter that, half this, doesn't matter. My advice is, if you want to embrace it, start to actively search for the positive examples of people who come from your group. Read books, go traveling, hang out at places where you know there are a lot of people that are similar to you, and become activistic. Okay, fight for a better kind of situation for people who are in the same boat as you. This is very healing.